Imagine this: a young woman vanishes without a trace. Her friends plaster her face across every telephone pole, social feed, and TV station they can reach. Police issue bulletins, search teams scour the woods, helicopters sweep over fields. Days turn to weeks. Her parents cling to hope, believing their daughter will walk through the door any moment. But when her diary is found, tucked deep inside a drawer no one thought to open, a chilling truth emerges: she had written about her killer before she disappeared. Backhand index pointing right. Before we go deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we always uncover the darkest, most haunting true crime mysteries, and you don't want to miss what comes next. Her name was Clara Jensen. She was 27 years old, bright-eyed, always the kind of person who lit up the room. Her friends described her as the glue that kept everyone together. She worked at a local library in a quiet suburban town, the kind of place where everyone believed they were safe, where crime lived only on the evening news. But behind Clara's kind smile, she carried something, a shadow, something only she knew. And it would eventually lead to the most terrifying chapter of her life. The night she disappeared. It was a chilly October evening. Clara was supposed to meet her best friend, Emily, at a cafe downtown. She never showed. Her phone went dark around 7:43 p.m. No texts, no calls. Just silence. Emily called, then texted, then drove around Clara's neighborhood. Nothing. Clara's car was still in her driveway. Her apartment door locked. But when Emily knocked, no one answered. By the next morning, Clara was reported missing. Police immediately launched a search. They combed the wooded trails she liked to jog on, checked local hospitals, spoke to coworkers, friends, neighbors. No one had seen her. It was as if Clara had simply evaporated. Her parents were devastated. Her father, usually stoic, broke down on camera during a press appeal. "If anyone knows where our daughter is, please bring her home." But even as her family begged, there was something no one knew yet, something Clara had hidden away. The diary. Clara had been writing in her diary since high school. She filled page after page with poems, secrets, fears, and confessions. But in the weeks before her disappearance, the tone of her writing shifted. The diary wasn't just random thoughts anymore. It became something else. Something haunting. In the final entries, Clara described a man. Someone she knew. Someone who was watching her. She never wrote his full name, just fragments, hints, cryptic references. Words like, "The eyes I can't escape. He knows where I live. I can't tell anyone, they wouldn't believe me." And then the last chilling line before the pages stopped. "If anything happens to me, it's him." A town in shock. When investigators first read the diary, they weren't sure what to make of it. Was it paranoia? Fiction? Or a coded message pointing to her killer? The discovery shocked the entire town. Reporters swarmed the story. Neighbors whispered that maybe Clara knew she was being hunted. Some believed the diary was her way of leaving behind a trail of breadcrumbs, a desperate attempt to point to her killer in case the worst happened. Police now had to answer one chilling question: who was him? The suspects. The diary didn't name names, but investigators began building a list of possibilities. 1. An ex-boyfriend. Clara had dated a man named Derek 2 years earlier. Friends said he was controlling, jealous, and often angry. After they broke up, he didn't take it well. Did he still harbor resentment? 2. A coworker. At the library, Clara worked closely with a man named Martin. He was quiet, reserved, but sometimes his behavior toward Clara was unsettling. He lingered too long in conversations, always offered to walk her to her car. Clara once told Emily that Martin made her uncomfortable, but she brushed it off. 3. A stranger turned familiar. Clara had a routine. She jogged the same trails every evening. Several witnesses reported seeing a man jogging the same path, often just behind her. No one knew his name. Each suspect carried weight. Each one could have been him. But the deeper investigators dug, the more the lines blurred. And soon, a chilling possibility emerged. Maybe Clara hadn't been paranoid at all. Maybe she really did know she was being followed. The haunting last phone call. Phone records showed Clara made one last call at 7:41 p.m., just 2 minutes before her phone went dead. The number? Emily's. When detectives asked Emily what was said, she hesitated. Emily explained that Clara's voice was trembling. She sounded terrified. She only said one sentence before the line cut. "He's here." From that moment, the case turned from a disappearance into something far darker. Clara wasn't just missing, she had been taken. And her diary might have been her only way of telling the world who did it. But here's the twist: the more investigators leaned into her writings, the more they uncovered a tangled web of secrets no one expected, including one that would lead directly to Clara's killer. Backhand index pointing right. If you're gripped by this story already, hit the like button right now. It tells me you want more mysteries like this, and it helps push these stories to people who need to hear them. The final line of her diary echoed in everyone's mind. "If anything happens to me, it's him." But Clara's killer wasn't a faceless stranger lurking in the shadows. He was someone much closer. Someone who had been standing right in front of her all along. And when police finally pieced together the diary's hidden meaning, it led them to one shocking revelation: Clara knew her killer, and she had been trying to warn everyone the entire time. Backhand index pointing right. Stay with me, because we'll break open the cryptic clues in Clara's diary, reveal the prime suspect who fooled everyone, and uncover the disturbing truth about why she was silenced. The diary speaks. The diary sat on the evidence table, its worn leather cover faded from years of use. Investigators flipped through the pages carefully, knowing every sentence could mean the difference between solving Clara's disappearance or losing her forever. At first, the entries read like any young woman's journal: weekend plans, frustrations at work, late-night reflections. But then, about 3 weeks before she vanished, Clara's tone shifted. She wrote about being followed. She described seeing the same car parked near her building late at night. She described footsteps echoing behind her on evening jogs. And she described a face she knew, but could no longer trust. The entries grew darker. "I can't sleep. Every creak sounds like him. I smile at everyone, but inside I'm terrified. How can you fear someone who once made you feel safe?" Investigators froze at that last line. Clara wasn't writing about a stranger. She was writing about someone close, someone she once trusted. Unraveling the clues. Detectives highlighted every mention of him. Then they cross-referenced Clara's social circle, her coworkers, her ex-boyfriends. Patterns began to emerge. One entry described books being rearranged after I closed the library. Only someone working with her, or someone who had access, could have done that. That pointed to Martin, the quiet coworker. Another entry described a hand on my arm that lingered too long. Emily, her best friend, confirmed Clara had once mentioned Martin doing exactly that. But then came the twist. Another entry described angry words from the past resurfacing, a voice I thought I'd left behind. That line fit perfectly with Derek, the volatile ex-boyfriend. So which was it? The obsessive coworker or the bitter ex? Emily's secret. While detectives worked, Clara's best friend Emily carried her own guilt. After the diary was found, she revealed something she had kept to herself. 2 nights before Clara vanished, Emily recalled Clara calling her late at night, whispering into the phone, "I think he's going to hurt me." Emily pressed for details, but Clara refused. She simply said, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." At the time, Emily thought Clara was exaggerating. Maybe just spooked. She never imagined those would be the last real words Clara spoke to her. The man in the shadows. Police expanded their search. Security cameras near Clara's apartment captured eerie footage. At 7:38 p.m., the night she disappeared, a shadowy figure stood near the entrance to her building. He wore a hood, hands stuffed into his pockets, head down. Just minutes later, Clara's phone pinged its last location, right outside that building. The figure remained still for almost 5 minutes, then vanished. The grainy footage didn't reveal a face. But investigators noticed one crucial detail: the figure's gait. The way he shifted his weight while standing. The subtle limp. And suddenly, alarm bells rang. Clara's father remembered something. A month earlier, while helping Clara carry groceries to her apartment, he noticed a man leaving the building. He described him as a guy with a slight limp, eyes that felt too intense. When police matched the description to Clara's coworker Martin, it seemed like the puzzle was finally snapping into place. But then, the case took another shocking turn. The ex-boyfriend's alibi. Investigators brought in Derek, the ex-boyfriend, for questioning. He denied everything. He admitted he'd been angry after the breakup, but insisted he hadn't seen Clara in over a year. He claimed he was at a bar the night Clara disappeared. At first, police didn't buy it. But then surveillance footage confirmed it. Derek had indeed been at the bar, visible on camera, the entire evening. For many, that cleared him. But detectives weren't so sure. What if Derek wasn't the one who took Clara, but still had a role to play? The second diary. While detectives pored over the main diary, Clara's parents searched her apartment again. That's when they made a second shocking discovery. Hidden inside a box under her bed, wrapped in a scarf, was another diary. This one was smaller, newer. And its contents were even more disturbing. The first page opened with, "If anyone finds this, know that I was right. He won't stop until he has me." Page after page described fear. Not vague paranoia, specific threats. Clara wrote that she had received anonymous notes slipped under her door. Notes that read things like, "You can't hide from me and you belong to me." Chillingly, one note included a personal detail only someone close to Clara would know: her childhood nickname, Lark. That detail narrowed the suspect list dramatically. Only family, old friends, and one other person, her coworker Martin, knew that name. Martin under the microscope. Detectives pulled Martin's employment file. He had no criminal record. No complaints. But when they dug into his past, a disturbing picture formed. At his previous job, Martin was quietly asked to leave after a female employee accused him of harassment. The case never went public. She withdrew her complaint out of fear, but the details were eerily similar: late-night phone calls, anonymous notes, unwanted attention. And then, investigators found something chilling. Martin lived less than 2 blocks away from Clara. Suddenly, all signs pointed toward him. But before police could act, the investigation took yet another chilling twist, straight from Clara's own diary. The code in the pages. Forensic linguists were called in to analyze Clara's writings. They noticed a pattern in her final entries. Certain words were underlined. When pieced together, they formed a cryptic sentence. "He is not who you think." This sentence threw everything into chaos. If Clara was pointing to Martin, why would she write that? Was she warning that the obvious suspect wasn't the real danger? Or was it her way of saying Martin's outward persona hid a much darker truth? Detectives were torn. And then came the most disturbing evidence yet. The hidden recording. Clara's phone had been silent since 7:43 p.m. on the night she vanished. But forensic experts discovered something in its audio cache, a half-recorded voice memo. It began with Clara's shaky voice whispering, "I know it's you. Why are you doing this?" Then a male voice responded, muffled but still recognizable, "Because you left me no choice." The audio cut off abruptly. When detectives compared the voice to Martin's, it was almost a perfect match. Almost. But something about the tone made Clara's parents pause. Her father swore he recognized that voice. And his suspicion would lead to one of the darkest revelations of the case. Backhand index pointing right. If this story has you on edge, make sure you're subscribed, and share this video with a friend who loves true crime. Stories like this deserve to be told, and your support helps keep them alive. The unexpected suspect. The deeper detectives dug, the more bizarre the case became. On the surface, all fingers pointed to Martin. His proximity. His history. His obsession. But Clara's diary was clear: he is not who you think. When police cross-referenced the handwriting from the threatening notes, their forensic team dropped a bombshell. The notes didn't match Martin's writing. They matched someone else. Someone Clara trusted. Someone no one suspected. And when police revealed his name, the entire town was shaken. The man who had been hiding in plain sight all along, the one Clara had been writing about, wasn't her ex-boyfriend, and it wasn't her coworker. It was someone closer. Someone who smiled at her parents, shook hands with her friends, and pretended to grieve with everyone else. Clara knew. She had tried to warn them. And in Act 3, the truth of who he was, and how Clara left behind the ultimate clue that led police to him, will finally be revealed. Backhand index pointing right. Don't miss where the killer is unmasked. The diary's final secret comes to light, and justice for Clara takes a shocking turn. The face behind the pages. When the handwriting analysis came back, investigators couldn't believe it. The threatening notes slipped under Clara's door, notes she had saved, notes she wrote about in her diary, were not written by Martin. They were written by someone Clara trusted more than anyone else. The samples matched her neighbor across the hall, James Whitaker. The neighbor next door. James was in his early 40s, a friendly man who always offered to carry groceries or shovel Clara's walkway in winter. He had lived across from her for 3 years, blending into the quiet suburban routine. When Clara vanished, James had even joined the search parties. He knocked on doors, printed flyers, hugged her parents, and told reporters, "She was like a sister to me." But behind closed doors, James was something else entirely. Police learned that James had a fixation on Clara. He watched her every move. His apartment window directly faced hers, and detectives would later find journals of his own, pages filled with Clara's routines, what she wore, what time she left for work, when she jogged. He wasn't just her neighbor. He was her stalker. The audio clue. Remember that partial voice memo on Clara's phone? The chilling voice that said, "Because you left me no choice?" When detectives replayed it side by side with James's voice, the match was undeniable. Clara hadn't just known her killer, she confronted him, and recorded the moment it all began. Her final act was leaving behind undeniable proof. The arrest. Police stormed James's apartment. Inside, they found what can only be described as a shrine to Clara. Photos of her. Hair strands taped into a notebook. Even her missing scarf folded neatly on his bed. But the most disturbing find was a box under his couch. Inside were dozens of letters, unsent letters, addressed to Clara. They ranged from loving to violent, some written like poetry, others filled with rage. "If I can't have you, no one will. You should be grateful I chose you. We are meant to be, even if you don't know it yet." Clara had sensed it all along. She had written it down, line after line in her diary. And now, the truth was undeniable. Backhand index pointing right before we reveal the shocking conclusion. If this story has your heart racing, hit the like button. It lets me know you want more true crime mysteries just like this. The trial. James was arrested and charged with kidnapping, stalking, and murder. In court, prosecutors presented Clara's diary, the notes, the shrine, and the chilling voice memo. The diary became the heart of the case. It wasn't just a collection of thoughts, it was Clara's testimony from beyond the grave. Her words, written in fear, became the evidence that convicted her killer. The jury sat in stunned silence as her final entry was read aloud. "If anything happens to me, it's him." And it was. James was sentenced to life without parole. The family's grief. For Clara's parents, justice was bittersweet. They had lost their daughter, but her courage gave them strength. Her father said in an interview, "Clara knew. She tried to warn us. Her words are what saved others from him. She saved herself by not staying silent." Emily, her best friend, carries the weight of that last phone call. "He's here. She has since dedicated her life to raising awareness about stalking and victim protection. The diary's final secret. When police returned Clara's belongings to her family, they noticed one final detail in her diary. On the very last page, beneath the line, "If anything happens to me, it's him," Clara had drawn a small symbol, a star. Her mother explained that Clara used to draw stars when she wanted to mark something as important. It was her way of making sure no one could miss it. It was as if Clara knew her words would one day be read in court. As if she was leaving her last piece of evidence, her final message, her way of saying, "This is the truth." Backhand index pointing right. If Clara's courage moves you, share this story right now. The more people hear it, the more awareness we raise about stalking, about listening to victims, and about never dismissing someone's fears. Clara Jensen didn't live to see justice served. But through her diary, through her words, she spoke louder than her killer ever could. And in the end, it was those words, the ones she scribbled late at night in fear, that revealed the identity of the man who took her life. Her diary was not just her story. It was her weapon. If this story shook you, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. We tell these kinds of haunting true crime mysteries always, and you do not want to miss the next one.